So I've got two lovely Dendrobium Nobile Orchids here. The other one's just off to the side, which I'll show you in a while. Both several years old, both reliable bloomers if I follow a particular care routine through winter. If I don't, they don't bloom. When I do, they reward me with this. So what are the big secrets? Let's find out. And we are in. Okay, so there really aren't any secrets, to be honest. There's just certain particular things that you need to do. If you're a beginner orchid grower or you just can't get these to bloom year after year following your purchase, then stay right here and I'll tell you all you need to know. Now, there are loads of videos out there, I'm well aware, on YouTube about how to rebloom these very popular orchids. And I wouldn't have bothered to make this video unless I felt I had something extra to offer from those other videos I've seen, which I think I do. But before I divulge that information, let me tell you a brief history of both orchids. So this one was bought at B&Q, a local popular DIY store, only a few pounds, probably expected to be thrown away after 12 months or after it's bloomed. Of course, it was in full bloom when I bought it. However, it failed to bloom the following year until I got my care routine in order. And since then, it's only failed to bloom properly when I failed in my care routine, which does happen occasionally. So this one, the largest of the two, this one is Dendrobium Nobile Star Class Apollon, I think. I bought it from my very first auction at a local orchid society several years ago. It was in a terrible state when I bought it, full of cakeys, blackened leaves, leaf marks, and not a bloom or a bud in sight. After a season or two, I realised it had spider mite as well, probably the very plant that brought the pesky little blighters into my greenhouse. And you can see it is just about to do a mass blooming for me. Nice blooms there. Actually, there's one there that's over, but there's plenty of buds back there. You probably can't see because of all the canes, but it is what I would consider a medium to large plant. Okay, so what are the big secrets or the not so secrets? Let's get into them. So secret number one, first of all, they need a temperature drop at the end of the summer. This magical dry winter rest, and happily winter in the UK naturally provides that for free. It's a cool growing orchid. It will go down to around about 5 degrees Celsius, but I keep my greenhouse to a minimum of 12 degrees, so clearly that's enough of a drop for it. I'd be interested to know if there's anyone out there that gets theirs to bloom with a winter temperature higher than 12 to 15 degrees, just to establish whether it's the temperature reading itself that triggers the bud formation or it's the differential between the highs and lows. I suspect it's actually, as it's a cool grower, probably the genuinely cool temperatures, not just a drop. However, with certain hybrids, you never know. So secret number two, stop watering them through winter. This is the hardest part and where I've failed in the past. I now give them at least 2 to 3 months without a single drop of water, and there are a couple of caveats for that. I only begin again when I see well-developed buds. That's when I begin to water. So these caveats that I was talking about, because these usually bloom early in the year, but they are taken out of their natural environment, or maybe they've grown commercially, and dormancy periods, as we've seen with other plants, can be very erratic and they can be manipulated. So if your plant is about to bloom or blooming, make sure you give it a water and feed, irregardless of whether it's supposed to be having a winter rest or not. You should also water it if the canes do start to shrivel up. Now, both of mine are potted in transparent orchid pots, just so that I can see if the roots are moist. Now, I want them to be well dried out between waterings, otherwise root rot quickly sets in at cooler temperatures, as I found out with lots of orchids. I have them in a range of media, but always well drained and airy. This one's in a mixture of bark, a little bit of moss. This one is in leca. Many media mixes will work provided that they are well drained and airy. Of course, the potting media that you use very much depends on your own conditions and your watering routine. If you live in warmer climates, then you're going to use a different potting mixture than what I use. Especially if you're in the house, for example, you're going to use a different media mix. So secret number three, Because they are prone to spider mite, I use a sulphur hot box, which keeps them pretty much under control for most of the time. Even then though, I do find that I have to periodically turn it off and change, because the thing with spider mites is that they get resistant to any and every treatment. So I use the hot box for a few weeks, then I stop and I change the treatment, maybe to a systemic spray, which inevitably they get used to again, and then I change it maybe to a contact spray, which again they get used to, at which point I revert back to the hot box, and so it continues. It's very much like a doctor changing antibiotics when the patient stops responding to one kind. That's the way I like to look at it. So I've also found that the slugs and snails love the soft leaves and also the blooms of these orchids, so watch out for them. Slugs especially love to hide in the air cone underneath these kind of pots, so make sure to regularly check there. In fact, just before I made this video, I did exactly that. What did I find? A slug. So secret number 4, there are a few things here. I'm going to cover fertilizing, repotting, pruning, cakeys and light. I do feed them. Maybe I don't go into quite as much detail as many other people do. For instance, I'm not giving them any extra supplements or carefully measuring things out. I tend to stick with only feeding them between April and September. That's the main growing season in the UK in my particular conditions. I use rain mix, which is just a general purpose orchid fertilizer, using the instructions on the label, but I always err on the side of less is more. I do repot every few years, but I found that they actually quite enjoy being squished in their pots, probably because they dry out a little better when they're really tight in their pots, and that of course saves me a job. But they will need repotting eventually, because despite the root congestion, the media will eventually turn more acidic as it breaks down. Don't stress over chopping off loads and loads of dead roots. This one's actually been in this pot since 2018 and it's still going strong. It's probably due another repot, but I'm not keen to do it with all that going on there. But it will need doing actually, because as I say, the media inside there will start to turn sour sooner or later. Probably after it's done this blooming will be a good time to do it. Now, if you do need to chop roots off, don't worry about it. These plump canes store everything they need and they will produce some more. The best time is when they are growing new roots, but to be honest, I've done it over winter because that's when I'm free to do it, and so far they haven't minded it. This one was only repotted last year, so as you can see, this one is in leca. I thought I'd try something different. It doesn't seem to mind. It's blooming really nicely, probably one of the best blooms it's done for a while. I usually wait till canes are shriveled and yellowing before pruning them off, simply because they provide some resources to the rhizome and are able to bloom on previously dormant nodes, so they are worth keeping. Although occasionally, if a cane, especially on this one here, is a bit of a runt or maybe it's too big and in the way, I have no problem with lopping it off. I remove all cakeys because I don't like the look of them, but of course I also think that if they're putting energy into babies, they probably won't be as likely to bloom, and it's possible that your care routine or growing conditions aren't quite right, so it's worth investigating if that's the case. So if you've done all that and you've still no blooms, well, maybe it's not getting enough light. If your plant is really dark green, then it's possible that the light isn't bright enough. For goodness sake, don't put it in direct sun behind glass. You can put it outside if you like, providing it's not going to get frosted. You can put it in the sun. Just make sure that you increase the light, and that might then trigger that growth. So there really are very basic things to remember. One is that you make sure it has that rest during winter. 2 is that you only water and feed during the growing season, and 3 is that you make sure it gets sufficient light. Grow lights are brilliant for that, especially during the winter time. So if you like dendrobiums and you think these are particularly nice ones, you'll probably see a few slug slime trails on that one, then why don't you have a look at this video up here? There it is in the corner, all about Dendrobium farmeri. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.